You may have noticed in the tent setup videos that we are trying out the Spider Farmer Intelligent Inline Fan Kits. Let's unbox and take a look at the 6-inch version that we will be using in a couple of different places this season. This comes as a complete kit shipped in a single box and has everything you need to get the ventilation set up in your grow tent. As always, the packaging is super secure, so it should make it to you without any damage at all. The nice part about buying it all as a kit is that it gets the additional layer of protection from the outer box that it comes in. When you open the box, you can see the 3 clamps that they send with the kit on top. This is enough clamps to connect a piece of duct between the filter and the fan, and then to clamp a duct on the other end of the fan that will go out of the tent. The kit comes with 32 feet of 6-inch duct, which should be enough for any kind of routing you may have to do in the tent, and give you plenty for future use as well. Under that is the AC power cord for the fan, and finally there are 2 more boxes. The first one has the fan itself along with the controller and sensor probe. The fan has the same orange accents that I am so fond of and matches with all of their other current products as well. The fan has a pigtail for the AC adapter cord, along with a plug that you will need to run to the controller once everything is installed inside of the tent. Here is a closer look at that AC pigtail, which is nice as you can easily switch out the power cord for a longer or shorter version depending on what your needs are. The plug that goes into the controller has 3 pins and a couple of notches, which should make it easy to align and get inserted. Finally, they have marked one end of the fan to show you which way the airflow is moving through it. The next box has the charcoal filter, and they have changed up the design a bit since the last one I opened up. The filter and fabric cover are both black in this kit, and the filter has a hanger installed onto each end. I was really surprised and excited to see this feature. I do not like using the straps that these kits always come with, and much prefer using a ratcheting hanger. Adding on these 2 hang points will make it super easy to do that now, and I will show you how I end up putting this into one of their 3-foot by 3-foot tents. I am super happy to see little things like this getting added. They may be small, but they are a solid quality of life improvement, at least for me. Taking a quick look at the controller, and it is pretty simple with 4 buttons and the display screen on the front of the unit. There are wings on each side of the unit, and you use the holes in them to attach it to the tent if you want to. You could also just set it up on top of the tent and grab it whenever you need it, but I do like being able to see it at a moment's notice. On the bottom of the unit there are 3 ports. The out 1 and out 2 ports are to connect to exhaust fans, and then sensor is where you will plug the sensor probe into. Speaking of the sensor probe, here is what both ends of that look like. You want to run the solid metal tip into the tent and have it hanging at the same level as your canopy, so that the main unit can get an accurate reading of the part of the tent you are actually using. When installing exhaust fans into grow tents, I do not like having a section of duct between the fan and the filter, and I really try to use as little ductwork as possible when setting them up. What I do is just set the filter directly onto the fan on the intake side, and then secure them together with some black foil duct tape. It seals them together so that you don't get any air leaks and holds them together nicely. Once that was done, it was time to get it in the tent and hooked up. In this tent, I hung the fan along the top back of the tent as close to the ceiling as possible. I am using 2 ratcheting hangers, one on the filter using the 2 attachment points that we were talking about earlier, while the fan is hanging by its wall mount plate. I then have a 2-foot long section of duct running directly out of the tent through one of the 8-inch ports that are available. Both the power cable and controller wire are running over the ceiling of the tent and out the right port so that I can get them to where they need to go. Looking outside on the front of the tent, you can see where that is. The controller is over to the right of the door under the Spider Farmer logo. The controller wire that is coming from the fan is coming from the right side of the tent. And for the sensor wire, I punched a hole a couple of inches below the controller and ran it right into the tent. I have gotten quite a few questions about how we mount these controllers onto our tents, and it is actually pretty simple. I put the controller in place on the front of the tent and then take a couple of short screws and just screw them right into the tent fabric. This isn't permanent, but it holds them in place long enough to get them secured. Once that is in place, I will grab a scrap of wood or plastic, hold it behind the screws on the inside of the tent, and then just screw them down until they are tight. If we look into the other side here, you can see what I am talking about with the wood scrap. This is what we have done for any of our tents where you have seen a fan controller mounted, and it has always worked out great. In a future video, I will go over how I set up the controller for our grows and the typical settings that we use. I'm excited to see how this system works in the upcoming grows that we will be using them on, as we are going to have them on every tent this cycle. I am sure that if I run into any issues, I will bring it up in the individual grow series, and I may do an end of season recap to talk about how they worked out. I want to give a big thank you to Spider Farmer for sending this exhaust fan kit over for us to take a look at. If you would like to try out any of their gear for yourself, I will leave links to it on their website in the description down below. Make sure to use code GEEKS at checkout to get an 8% discount on your order. Another big shout out goes to our channel members here on YouTube and patrons over on Patreon that have pledged at the trimmer level. While all of our members and patrons help keep the channel going, you folks have gone above and beyond, and we really appreciate it.